Hey guys, what's up? Today we're going to be doing a bit of a metagame analysis video on ghost types in the SSU metagame. We're going to start off by ranking all the fully evolved ones. I do know that Pokemon like Dracloak and Doublade are viable in some lower tiers, but we're going to be mainly focusing on the fully evolved Pokemon, and specifically this video is going to be geared toward SSOU. But don't worry, there are going to be some lower tier mentions as well. In addition to this, after we do the rankings, we're also going to go ahead and go through all the viable ghost types and potential checks and counters to them, but we're going to save that for the second half of the video. Let's first focus on this part of the video. So I actually haven't made it to your list yet. This is going just sheer off memory. We have S, A, B, C, D, F. Pretty self-explanatory. S, of course, is the best Pokemon. B and C are right in the middle, and F is like the Pokemon that you'll never see competitively whatsoever, even in like most lower tiers. So right off the bat, we're going to start with Aegis Slash. I'd say that of all the Pokemon on this list, is probably the second or third best Ghost type Pokemon right now, competitively speaking. So that's going to land it squarely in the middle of S rank. Aegis Slash, for those of you who don't know, is actually an Uber Pokemon in prior generations. For example, in Generation 6, when it first came out, it did have a bit more ability to abuse the stance change with King Shield, and that made it not only stronger in the metagame, but also just more practical to use. And people relied on more those sets, mixed attacking sets, or Swords Dance sets with King Shield always. King Shield was seen as the most common move on it. And despite it gaining access to moves like Close Combat this generation, it never really abused choice sets, and seldom did it use Life Orb. In fact, Spell Tag or Spooky Plate were used very often, as well as Leftovers, and Subspace Toxic variants were seen as very good in the metagame. There was not the same amount of Special Defensive Gliscor, Assault Vest Tornadus T even, and Special Defense Featuring as there was now there is then, but also mix sets and Hidden Power Ice were seen as decent answers to those as well. All in all, Aegis Slash was just kind of a Pokemon that was going to always have a great place in the metagame, so yeah, that's why we're putting it in S rank. Oh wait, actually that's Generation 6. In Generation 7, I will say similar things, but then in Generation 8, it started running those choice sets. Yeah, sorry, I didn't really finish the thought. And those choice sets are very good, but with King Shield getting, it's not as helpful due to the drop in stats. I believe it lost 20 base power, or maybe 10 base power overall, like base stat total, power. However, Aegis Slash is still very strong. In the Blade form, it's able to do immense amount of damage with Spec Shadow Ball, and also Swords Dance boosted Shadow Claw or Close Combat, which is a new move it got. Yeah, it also has Steel Beam, which doesn't really see usage, but it's a cool move that I figured was worth noting. Yeah, and Toxic's cool too. Personally, with the resurgence of Mandibuzz in this metagame to help check a number of things, I think Subtoxic actually might see some usage, but we'll have to wait and see, especially defensive Toxapex is all over the place to keep that in check. But yeah, all things considered, Aegis Slash is pretty damn good in this metagame. It's probably one of the best ghost types. I'd say it's behind Dragapult, but that aside, I don't think you could argue any ghost type is unilaterally better than it right now. The next Pokemon we're going to be seeing is Chandelure. Chandelure is a bit more of a straightforward case. We'll just go through its history a little bit more. In Generation 5 it was released, and it was really good in UU to the point where it got banned at points, or at least in some communities. Smogon and Pio actually had very different UU tiers and communities, which is interesting. And one day I'll make a video on the divide between those communities. But yeah, ultimately it did settle off as being UUBL, or BL1 we called it at the time. There was actually BL1, 2, 3, and 4 before it eventually got renamed UUBL, RUBL, NUBL, PUBL, etc. So that's just a cool little piece of information that you guys might not know. But anyway, with that said, Spec Chandelure was seen as great in UU, but in OU it just never translated due to Pursuit Tyranitar being all over the place and just a ton of other offensive behemoths outclassing it. However, in Generation 6, in 7, it finally settled into its place as more of a kind of good UU Pokemon, I believe. At times, it even saw sporadic usage in OU, specifically be anti-fairy types to start of both generations, especially last generation, as it also was able to check the stabs of a couple of things like Kartana and Tapu Bulu, I guess, but it really never saw much usage. It was a good stole breaker with Z moves and Substitute combined. In fact, lefties used it in official tournaments like Smogon Snake Draft even at times, but yeah, it never really was too great. In OU, this generation, it actually seen some usage as a choice spec user in OU. In fact, during SPL, there are a number of times where it saw competition. It faced other ghost types like kind of in competition, if you will. And honestly, all things considered, Chandelure is just a superb Pokemon, but it never was really strong enough to break the mold in OU. And even with this generation not having Pursuit and it being able to abuse Trick a lot more with no Mega Evolutions and Z moves, still, things like Toxapex hold it back, Tyranitar can hold it back, Incineroar being used in OU, etc. holds it back. So yeah, I'm actually going to go ahead and put it in lower B rank, but I could see it potentially shifting down to C rank with more time. Excuse me for a second. Next up is Furgus. Its niche has changed over the generation substantially. Over the last 3 generations, and particularly in Black-White, in fact, in Black-White, Yu was seen as a potent Pokemon with a Trick Room, Nasty Plot, Shadow Ball, and Hidden Power Ghost set. It was really good at late game cleaning, in particular on offensive teams when paired with Spikes or Toxic Spikes. However, over generations, it kind of maintained that role, but it went down to RU and then eventually NU. In fact, in generation, I think 7, it was so good in NU that eventually it got banned. People were even using level 99 to undercreep and Trick Room, opposing Corsola, which is really funny. But this generation, it lost Hidden Power Fighting in particular, but it gained Body Press, which is amazing with its defense. People are using Iron Defense plus Body Press sets. In particular, I've used that in NU a lot, as have a lot of other people. Nasty Plot sets still are good, as is Utility. On top of that, I would say that like Trick Choice Band in Draft League was amazing. I used it the other week, but it's actually my best Pokemon differential-wise in Draft League in my current league right now, so it's pretty funny. But yeah, it's an NU Pokemon right now, but I kind of want to give it some love. I'm going to say C rank, but you could definitely argue D rank. And speak of D rank, unfortunately, Corsola is going to be the first Pokemon. Corsola is going to be the first Pokemon to get there. I don't have extensive experience with it. Hold up, just checking my dimensions really quick. Yeah, this should be fine. I don't have extensive experience with it, unfortunately, but it does have some cool breaking power, a nice move pool, and an ability that can help it. But the thing is, it's always been like kind of like a B rank Pokemon in NU. It's never really been super special, and because of that, I think it's definitely a step below Furgus, but also it's only been around 1 generation, so we don't have a huge frame of reference for it to see if maybe it'll rise with trends to upper tiers. Because, for example, Pokemon that might start in NU but have been like UU and RU in past generations are just inherently a little more likely to rise up the tiers eventually. Of course, it's more situational dependent, but yeah, just track records tend to repeat themselves. History tends to repeat itself. And given that, I think Corsola is just kind of bound to be an NU Pokemon, and it's cool there, but it's still pretty limited, and it has some pretty fatal flaws. Delmise, however, is a really cool Pokemon that was introduced last generation. Even without Z moves, it's still really strong. It has the trapping thing that to go with it, Steelworker, and I really loved it in NU last generation. It was one of my favorite Pokemon. In this generation, I believe it's a pretty strong Pokemon in RU. I'm going to put it just above Furgus, but these guys are really neck and neck, honestly. I'd say Delmise is more like mid-C, whereas Furgus is probably like low-C. Come on. Let me swap the two, please. Okay, there we go. All right, next up we have Drifloon, a Pokemon that's been around forever. In Generation 4, in debut generation, it was really good with Unburdened sets with a whole slew of berries, Chesto Berry or Pitaya Berry, for example. And it was used as a win condition with Unburdened. Yeah, but Generation 5, it completely fell off the face of the earth. I don't really know if we see it in many lower tiers in Generation 5 in general. It definitely had a niche in lower ones, but yeah, nothing superb. And that's coming from me, a Generation 5 aficionado, so it was just really underwhelming that generation. Same with Generation 6, but Generation 7, it saw a little more usage in some lower tiers. And then Generation 8 now, it started out in RU, surprisingly. It actually then surged in NU like for the first couple days, but then people were like, oh, it's really not that good. I'd say that just because of historic relevance, I'm going to put it a little bit above Corsola, but this generation, they're really neck and neck in NU, so seeing as it's a Generation 8 good video, I just want to say like asterisk next to it, like it's only given like a tie break because of that past generation stuff. I love giving you guys a history, but this is more geared towards Generation 8 ghost types, as we're only going through all the Generation 8 ghosts, as you can see. But yeah, this generation, I'd say it's kind of like a B tier and new Pokemon as well. It's just not much better than Corsola, but it's just a tad better, I'd say. Yeah. Next up, we have Dusknoir. It did get Poltergeist, I believe, which is cool. However, this generation has been pretty underwhelming. I don't really see a ton of reasons to use it. Historically, it's always kind of been an RU or NU Pokemon as well, dating back to, I believe, its debut generation. Yeah, in Generation 4, it was actually pretty decent in NU. Generation 5 actually saw some sporadic usage in RU as well, but yeah, unless you're Umfuga using the Choice Banded set, it just never was too great. It's pretty weak, and honestly, Dusclops almost overshadowed it in Generation 5 because people use it in like stall teams occasionally in UU. As funny as that might sound, but yeah, I'd say I'm going to rank it just below Corsola. They're honestly all kind of like fringe viable Pokemon in NU, but unfortunately for Dusknoir, it's just not that great. Next up, we have Frostlass, who Generation 4 was actually used in OU as a lead. Same with Generation 5 a little bit, although it was so good in UU as a lead that it got banned from UU, so it's UU-BL there. And then, last few generations has floated through different lower tiers, mainly NU and RU, as a kind of hazard setter. I think Generation 6 actually saw it be really good in UU. In fact, it might have even been banned at a point in time, but don't quote me on that. I know Generation 7 was kind of started to end for it, and now this generation, it wasn't looking great either, but then it got Triple Axle and Poltergeist, which in my eyes is going to put it on par with Furgus, maybe just a bit below it. We're going to put it just a bit below it. Maybe that's personal bias showing because I really do love Furgus design, but yeah, with that said, Frostlass is still an interesting Pokemon. I don't think we'll ever see an OU as ice types offensively like Weavile and Mammoth might outclass it and as a spikes and kind of utility Pokemon. we'd rather see Gengar, Utility, and just a whole slew of other spikers are used over it. So yeah, with that said, Frostless is a cool design and a lot of tricks up its sleeve. It's got a great speed tier as well, so definitely keep your eye on that. Might surge up in lower tiers due to the new moves it's getting. Next up, we have Gengar, which, in my humble opinion, is probably going to be like the number 3 ghost type. Yeah, I'm going to put it in A rank. I think it's like the top of A rank, thankfully. You could definitely argue it's a little better than Aegislash right now. Aegislash isn't seeing its best experience in the metagame right now, but I think Aegislash's sheer versatility and the outright amazing stats it has in both forms really make it a bit more abusable than Gengar. Gengar's Nasty Plot sets are great. Same with Trick Choice and even Sub Wisp are okay. But I think that Gengar is kind of limited in what it can do as it's really frail. So you got to keep that in mind. And ultimately, Gengar has been OU since Generation 1. Besides last Generation 1, unfortunately, or maybe even last 2 generations where it fell to UU. So it's great to see it return back to form in OU. And it's been a great timeless Pokemon. But I just can't put it above Aegislash, who's been, a top dog this generation thus far, even if it's fallen off a little bit now. Next up, we have Golurk, a Pokemon that's kind of been an NU bottom dweller that's always been okay there, but not really superb in other tiers. Well, did see some usage in Black White Energies this generation. I think it's NU as well, and I don't recall seeing it much in other tiers. There's actually a fancy set I want to show you guys in a bit. Fancy? Oh my god, what am I, a 13-year-old girl describing her wardrobe? Holy crap. No, a cool set. Yeah, cool set. That's much more gamer-friendly word. My apologies, guys. A cool set that I'm going to showcase to you guys in a bit. But yeah, with that said, I'm going to put Golurk just ahead of Drifloon. If you could let me do that, please. No? Okay. I'll do it this way. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, it's one of the few ghost types that gives access to Stealth Rock and is immune to electric types, which is cool. Definitely a distinctive niche over the others besides Pokemon that we're going to get to soon. Spoiler alert. But it's still pretty limited in what it can do, and I'm not really super fond of it either, admittedly. Next up, we have Gourgeist. All the forms are kind of still NU Pokemon or PU Pokemon. The small one with a kind of attack, but a lot of speed relative to others and decent special defense is pretty good right now. It's strong and it got Poltergeist. I think I'm gonna rank it above Golurk. Yeah, well, we're gonna add it to our increasingly expanding D tier. It's got a lot of options. It also got Poltergeist. It can run Explosion, Trick, Power Whip, Shadow Sneak, Fire Blast with Life Orb. I think I said Trick already. Phantom Force, etc. You name it. You can even run Sub-Leech Seed, Pain Split as well. So yeah, it's a pretty cool Pokemon, pretty diverse, but it's still limited in what it can do. And it doesn't have enough viability to break into upper tiers, unfortunately. Next up, we have Jellicent, a Pokemon that started in OU, then eventually dropped into UU, Generation 5 through 6. And then, it's 6 at UU, I believe. And then it's kind of floated through lower tiers. I actually saw a sporadic stint of usage in ORSOU due to checking Jellicent and in SSOU due to checking Darmanitan and Galar, in Ice plus Fire plus Bug. But unfortunately, it didn't have a sticking power. Nowadays, it's still viable due to being fighting immune and also checking a number of new Pokemon, such as Cinderace's Libero set, but it's still not great. It is good enough to put it in B tier, though, just below Chandelure, which is cool. Let me know in the comments if you prefer blue or pink Jellicent. Personally, I prefer blue, but just barely. Maybe it's just because I'm a guy. I don't know, but I definitely love to hear what you guys say. Next up, we have Mimikyu, a Pokemon who I historically shit on a ton because it's very weak. Sorry, just taking a sip of water, but yeah. The issue that I have with Mimikyu is the fact that it only has base 90 attack, and even with Adamant, Life Orb, etc., it's not breaking through things. For example, +2 cannot even 2 Heal Hippowdon, can never break through Haze Talk specs, and it's even like craziest dreams, and it's not doing enough to Scarfers or fast Pokemon with Shadow Sneak, barring things like Dragapult, which was super effectively, and Alakazam, which is just frail and good super effectively. So yeah, Mimikyu is pretty pitiful, but has managed to stay in OU for the most part, barring a stint in UU last generation due to its effectiveness on Hyper Offense and its ability to disguise, which is simply amazing. Because of that, I will rank it just above Chandelure. Actually, yeah, I'll rank it just above Chandelure. It's still pretty decent on Sticky Orbs right now, I guess, but I personally wouldn't use it just so weak it is and how situationally effective it is. But yeah, no, make of it what you will. It's sort of okay, I guess, kind of. Next up, we have Pokemon on the list that I probably have the least experience with besides Rodriguez and Trevenant, but Poltergeist is cool with the ability to kind of tank this with Focus Sash or Heavy Duty Boots and then get the +2 attack, assuming it lives a physical hit, +2 speed, -1 defense, and then use Shell Smash and then Stored Power with also strong Shadow Ball and Giga Drain, but it lacks coverage to really do well in OU. Giga Drain is not letting you have Mandibuzz, Incineroar, Hydreigon, etc., so it can even run Hyper Beam, but then it's going to just get Revenge Kill right afterwards. After it gets a kill. So yeah, it's pretty limited in what it can do. I've seen it on some ladder teams in Hyper Offense, but ultimately it's not great. Personally, I'm going to put it between, actually, Yeah, I'm gonna put it here. And this might be a bit of a snub on it. It might be a low ranking. And feel free to let me know in the comments if you happen to feel that way. But personally, I just think it's mediocre. I think it's much better in lower tiers than it is anywhere else. So yeah, these Pokemon kind of fits that narrative. Next up, we have Dragapult, which is probably the best non-Uber Ghost type right now. So it's gonna go all the way to the top. Dragapult is the picture of fast versatility that's hitting hard on both ends of the spectrum, potentially in the OU metagame. Personally, my favorite set's the Dragon Dance set in the new metagame, as it's able to do really well against things like Quiver Dance Volcarona and Chansey, setting up on both of them and then proceeding to break through them. It also has a higher attack stat than special attack. However, it unfortunately did not gain access to Poltergeist, so because of that, it's still realizing that it needs to run Steel Wing for things like Clefable. Oh my god, I guess Clefairy too, but yeah, and Togekiss, and also Fire Blast for Steel types like Ferrothorn, Corviknight, Skarmory, Magearna, the rare Scizor, etc. Of course, though, the more common sets are the Specs and Spell Tag variants, which tend to be more special-oriented. Draco Meteor, Hex, and then, Shadow Ball on Specs, Will-O-Wisp on Spell Tag, and then U-Turn or Thunder. U-Turn seen more on Spell Tag, Thunder seen more on Specs, but U-Turn's viable on Specs as well. You can also see Fire Blast or Flamethrower. Yeah, but it's just, you do a ton of things. I guess, in theory, you could run it as a Choice Scarfer as well, although I don't love that. Just because you're already fast enough to revenge kill pretty much everything. You don't need a true full-on Scarfer in this metagame, so yeah. With that said, though, Dragapult is a really effective and versatile Pokemon. I believe it is adapted to the metagame at a really high level, showing that it has amazing sticking power in OU, and it's always going to be one of the top 10 to 15 Pokemon in the tier. That's why it was ranked, in A+ rank throughout all of early metagame, and now it's in the great rank in the new viability rankings. And if you're not familiar with those rankings, then check out my video on them I put up just earlier this week. A lot of in-depth analysis in the new metagame, all the Pokemon kind of compared to each other, relatively speaking, and what they do in the metagame. I even went through each individual Pokemon that's ranked under great and good, and I explained why I thought they were good and what made them as effective as they were relative to the alternatives. So yeah, definitely check that video out. But self-plug aside, Dragapult is the clear top dog among Ghost types right now. But next off, we have Rotom. Unfortunately, for those of you that don't know, in Generation 4, Rotom was introduced, and every single Rotom appliance form was Ghost type. But then they all split. Wash became water, Rotom Heat became fire, of course, Rotom Mow became grass, Frost became ice, and whatever the hell the name of the Rotom Fan, Rotom Fan became flying, and so on and so forth. So now that just left the regular original Rotom form to be the main Ghost type, the only Ghost type of the bunch, and honestly, it's been pretty good in lower tiers, like NU and RU over the generation, starting off, and I think it was used in UU in Generation 4 as the original Ghost type with the worst stats than other ones, but a little more speed. Then it started out, it was kind of used in RU Generation 5. Then I think it fell to NU Generation 6, where I invented the Spell Tag set with Wisp, which was really cool. Wisp Pack, Spell Tag, it was just it had a ton of sticking power, and it's still pretty good in the tier. And of course, it uses Scarf and Specs and Subsplit as well. Last generation, it got Defog, which is cool, helped it in NU as well. Even saw some sporadic uses on lower tiers, but mainly NU. In this generation, it's now back to NU after a stint in RU to start off the generation. I'd say that I'm going to rank it just above Cofagrigus and below Dhelmise. Actually, you know what? I'm putting it above Dhelmise because last generation, it was a little... No, it was worse than Dhelmise last generation. In this generation, Dhelmise is a little better. So yeah, I think that's a fair fitting for it in C rank. Next up, we have Werner. Admittedly, this is Pokemon I have the least familiarity with. I've seen it meme Terrakion and OU ladder, but that's about it. It has some nice stats to it. It's kind of like a little bit better of a Golurk defensively, but it doesn't have the offensive stuff. But cool, a cool kind of niche it has. I don't have any usage of it personally, so I can't talk about it so much. So I'm going to be anticlimactic with this, and just say that I rank it. Let's say right here. Yeah, I think that's fair. I also haven't seen it much in draft formats either. It's kind of an unknown entity to me, and I think given the usage and viability I've seen of it, it belongs about there. Next up, we have Sableye. In its initial generation, Sableye was just completely useless. But then it got Prankster Generation 5. It actually hung around in OU for a while, seeing usage there, even in the modern day, very sporadically, but it's fringe viable. It does good against Alakazam and Ferrothorn and whatnot. It blocks spins, which is cool, but yeah, people started to notice it sucked, and then it got a Mega Evolution, which kind of broke OU Generation 6. It was just that good on Poe Resonance on stall. In last generation, it was a fringe staple on stall teams that didn't use Mega Aggron or Mega Slowbro. And it was still viable, but not amazing. And now, unfortunately, no Megas this generation, which leave it as just a bottom dweller in NU. But shout out to Welcome to the Jam, who helped me build an OU team with it by giving me the idea for my team building series. And if you don't know what that is, then in the pre-DLC metagame, I had a bunch of subscribers give me teams. I made a whole series going through all the teams and kind of saying what I do with them. I think it was 8 or 9 parts. Definitely check that out. I have a playlist for it on my channel, and you could also find them under the metagame analysis playlist as well. But anyway, personally, I'm just not too high in it. Given that it had high peaks and mega evolutions, it was cool. But since we're looking at Sableye this generation in particular, I'm actually going to put it all the way at the bottom, just above Dust Noir, and that's about it. It's an NU bottom Dulmer. It's probably PU. Actually, you know what? I'll put it below Dust Noir. It's not very good, unfortunately. Prankster is not a saving grace for a Pokemon with such pitiful base stats, and it's not really bulky enough to pull it off. Anyway, next up we have Shedinja, a Pokemon that's unironically been viable in OU for the past generations, and Heavy Duty Boots increases that, but unfortunately, there's just not much to say. It's still like really niche and limited. I'm gonna put it. You know what? Yeah, I'll put it here. Yeah, because it's good in OU a little bit more than like these Pokemon will ever see, but it's still like super limited, and it's not really good in the lower tiers you see it in either. I'm actually gonna make an executive decision, and I'm gonna go ahead and no, I gotta keep it like this. I'm sorry. No, actually, no. Okay, we'll even out the tiers once I do Trevenant. Well, yeah, we'll just even it out a little more. So yeah, Trevenant is next. It's a Ghost type with Harvest, and there's some cool offensive options as well. That's utility Pokemon, but ultimately it's pretty underwhelming. I definitely rank it below Gorgeous. I'm probably gonna say that I'm gonna put it between yeah, I'll put it here. It's just never been that great, unfortunately. Shout out to Tiermaker, by the way, who helped me with this video and the other one. I think you can see the logo up there. Yeah. It's a pretty cool website, and it lets you kind of customize your tiers. But anyway, we're just going to even things out a little bit just to find some balance between tiers. I'm going to go ahead and leapfrog Chandelure above Mimikyu just because I don't freaking like Mimikyu at all. And I think having 2 in the first 2 is kind of representative. I'm going to also go ahead and move Delmise up here and make this one 3. And yeah, I'll move Gorgus here. And I think Rotom's actually a fair fit. And I'm going to switch these 2. Yeah, Rodriguez. I'll make that second. Yep. Okay. As you see, it's kind of descending. The top one's only 2, then you get 4, and then 5, 6. Basically, what I'm trying to say is there are a lot more bottom tier Ghost type Pokemon than really prominent ones, especially in terms of OU. But there are still a solid, 6 or 7 viable OU Ghost types as well. And I think it's pretty cool this generation as there are kind of not a ton of, checks of them. Dragapult and Aegis Slash and Gengar are all just amazing Pokemon in metagame, and I'm definitely really excited to see them. Just note there's a big divide between Gengar and Chandelure in the A tier. You could even argue Gengar could go to S, but I'm not going to personally put it there. In fact, yeah, but I think this is going to be a wrap for this part of the video, so I'm going to pause for a second, and then we're going to get into the sets to Ghost types used in OU metagame and the potential checks and counters. Okay, guys, we're back. So I just rambled on for 20 minutes about my tier list that you probably just saw. You literally just saw it a second ago. I don't know why I backed to the tab. But anyway, now we're going to talk about the Ghost type Pokemon that are good in OU in this one. And then we'll get to the ones that are kind of fringe viable, cool sets or interesting applications. So we're just going to go over my favorite set for each of them. There are other sets. For example, Dragapult, of course, can run special-oriented sets with Spell Tag and Choice Specs. However, Life Orb Dragon Dance is personally my favorite set. It fits best on hyper-offensive teams, which I just love using on the ladder lately, as you might have seen in some of my videos. With that said, though, this set's definitely got some viability too on other teams, I guess. It's really good against Volcarona, so yeah, you can just Dragon Dodge and kill that while you level +1 Psychic with ease, and I just think it's great. Makes the tagging potential. Of course, there are checks to it, like Foul Play Mandibuzz and physically defensive. Well, actually, physically defensive Tank Breath doesn't check it because Fire Blast roasts it. I think that's also cool against physically defensive Corviknight. Yeah, Fire Blast kind of complements it nicely, but McGuirean does pretty nicely against it, unfortunately. Incineroar can still check it nicely as well. Yeah, Urshifu should be able to live even a +1. Might not live +1 always, never mind. But it can run Sucker Punch, so yeah, so you gotta be careful about. But yeah, also it's weak to priority, so you gotta be careful, but there's a lot of things it can do. Also, it's really weak to Hippowdon. Yeah, this set unfortunately doesn't do well against Hippowdon. But yeah, with all of that said, Dragapult is a pretty special Pokemon in metagame, and it's definitely the best Ghost type in my eyes. Next up, we have Marowak Alola, which I can't believe I left off the chart. Oh my god. I forgot to include some, did I include DLC Ghosts? Was that just what I forgot? Crap, I forgot DLC Ghosts. What other Ghost types did I miss? Ghost. It looks like it's just Marowak, Palossand. Marowak and Palossand, okay. So just as a bit of an edit, Marowak should be in A tier, and Palossand should be in C tier. Right next to Rodriguez, actually, yeah. Marowak is really good in OU right now, and I can't believe I included it in this part, but I forgot it in the other part. That's my bad there. So forgive me for that. But yeah, Marowak does belong here in A, and Palosan belongs like right here in C, probably like right here, yeah. Anyway, without further ado, Marowak is a great Pokemon. Unfortunately, it fiddled out last generation. In OU initially it was pretty decent, but then it fell off completely over time because people were like, not really as good and not really as practical, especially when certain things dropped out of favor. This generation, it may very well be the same thing, but right now it's amazing. It checks Magirna, it checks Volcarona. With Lightning Rod, it can check other things as well, like Rotom Heat. Yeah, and it's just really strong. Nothing actually counters it. And Poltergeist is kind of the ghost-type physical stab that a lot of ghosts, including Marowak Lola, have always wanted. And Earthquake's really good for Tyranitar, Midgrounds, and Toxapex as well. This is a personal set I like using. You could, of course, use Substitute or Swords Dance or over Stealth Rock. In addition, you could also use Boomerang over Earthquake if you're expecting Grassy Terrain or Substitute Pokemon, but you do have a 10% chance of missing. As for the spread, personally, I like this spread in particular because it lets you outrun Zero Speed Corviknight, Zero Speed Tyranitar, Zero Speed Clefable, and slower Azumarill as well. This EV is let you live a +1 Psychic from Volcarona after Stealth Rock. You also have a pretty good chance of living a Life Orb Alakazam Psychic from Full. So yeah, and you can also just max out attack. There was another spread I used that was a bit slower. It didn't mind being slower than Corviknight, and it outran Clefable and Tyranitar nonetheless, and actually ran HP, and then less special defense to accomplish the same things, but also be better against physical attackers. But yeah, it's just a trade-off depending on the team. It's completely your call. You can even max out speed to help with things like slower Conkeldurr, slower Azumarill, creeping Corviknight, slower Clefable with some speed and Calm Mind, I guess, etc. But yeah, that's it for Marowak Lola. I definitely think it's the second or third best ghost type in the metagame right now. Next off, we have Aegis Slash. My favorite set in its specs with these moves, but you can run Sacred Sword if you're scared of Snorlax, I guess. Shadow Sneak's really nice for priority, though. And yeah, Shadow Ball, Flash Cannon, and Toxic are just staples. And it's just an amazing special breaker, powerhouse, but Chansey kind of stonewalls it, unfortunately. And Mandibuzz is seeing an uptick in usage that should outrun it as well, so it's tough. You could also run Swords Dance variant, or Subtoxic, or even Choice Bandit, I suppose. I've also even seen like Automize plus Destiny Bond to like lure kill its potential counters, and then set up for Dragapult to break through teams because things like Incineroar and Mandibuzz killed it, but they got Destiny Bonded. Yeah, and I mean there are different things you could use on it. It's really good though, and Stand Change is an amazing ability, and I'm sure in the future we'll see the standards be pushed to the limit due to Aegis Slash's built-in versatility. Next up, we have Gengar. My favorite set's the Nasty Plot Life Orb 3 attack set. I showcased it in a live recently on a team with Drudigon. Definitely check that out. It was a really fun live. But anyway, this set's just amazing. Chansey can't really touch it, which is great, but also it just has great breaking power. Yeah, it's one of the like kind of foolproof special win conditions. Unfortunately, it's really frail, so it's limited, but it's always going to be forcing some sort of progress, barring very dire matchups. You can also run Focus Blast over Thunderbolt, but I love Thunderbolt, especially in a metagame where especially defensive Toxapex is starting to take over. It also does great against the ever-so-common Mandibuzz and Corviknight. So, yeah, my favorite. You could also run Trick with Specs or Scarf. And last but not least, there's also the Wisp plus Sub plus Hex set, which brings a bit more utility to Gengar's arsenal. I suppose moves like Pain Split and Disable are viable as well. I think it even gained access to Encore, if I recall correctly, yeah. So there's a niche there, but it's not great. Even Knockoff, yeah. Gengar's got a really cool utility move pool, Power Song, etc. But you can't really make use of those as much as you can of these options, which are really great on it. Next up, we have Mimikyu, a Pokemon that I hate, and I'm not going to discuss more. It's a very straightforward Swords Dance set. You see what it does. Only use it on Hyper Offense. That's it, kids. Don't try this at home. And finally, in the kind of top tier of ghost types, we also have Chandelure, which runs a really nice choice Trick spec set in OU. Trick is better in this metagame now, as it also catches things like Mandibuzz and, more importantly, Chansey. Previously, it was Trick slash Psychic, or even Rare Energy Ball for Seismitoad one-shots, I guess, in the Dragonfish metagame. Yeah, I prefer Modest over Timid, but Timid's viable too. Overheat's pretty much needed. It has so much one-shot potential. Overheat's just amazingly strong off of like 145 special attack. Yeah, and Flamethrower and Shadow Ball just stab. Shadow Ball does a great deal of physical defensive Toxapex, but especially defensive Toxapex, honestly, unfortunately makes Chandelure a bit less effective in the metagame right now. And things like Urshifu overshadowing it and being Dark type. Yeah, it's just Chandelure's seen better days, but the big four ghost types are still really great, especially Marowak and Dragapult, and even Gengar right now. Yeah. Alright, so I hope you guys enjoyed this little discussion of the big ghost types, but now let's get to some more fun niche Pokemon. Jellicent, I think this set on it is probably the best you can do. Let's just go through things you could potentially check and counter. Cinderace is really good against Libero variants. Cloister can't really do a ton to it, and it gets Wisp. You live a +2 Rock Blast. Conkeldurr, you could, I guess, sort of soft check if you're on Colberberry. The speed is meant to creep it. So yeah, you could also run Hex for that, I guess. You probably live a +2 Acrobatics from Hawlucha, which is cool. Not a ton else. You're pretty good against Subcommand Primarina because you can break Shell with Nightshade, I guess. Same with Slowbro. And you could, you're really good against your Shifu Rapid Strike, and you can kind of be a Volcarona, but you can't really do a ton to it. You just spam Nightshade. So yeah, there are things it has its moments against, but ultimately, it's more of a Taunt Wisp utility Pokemon with Strength Sap. Cool move, but it's still pretty limited, and it's definitely much better in lower tiers. So yeah, try it out there for sure. Cofagrigus is next. I think Iron Defense Body Press Cofagrigus is laughably good. You could even run Trick plus Choice Band, but this is the set I'd personally go with. Shadow Ball for Ghost types and things like Slowbro. Unfortunately, you're still pretty useless against Clefable, Amoonguss. But yeah, no, it can hit really hard with Body Press if you manage to do it into neutral targets. It's cool. It's also really, really good in NU, where you might see it with Trick Room over Pain Split or even Hex over Shadow Ball. Yeah. There are other things you could do, like Nasty Plot, I guess. But yeah, Cofagrigus really isn't that great in OU, but I think it has like a very rough outside niche you can use in like specific teams. It is going to be a great check to fighting types like Heracross and Conkeldurr, especially for Colberberry and or Shifu Rapid Strike. Yeah, it even could live a +2 Stone Edge from Life Orb Trackdown with ease, even a chance to after Stealth Rocks, and it could kind of nullify things like Cinderace and Buffalon too, a Pokemon that I may be using very soon live because it seems really fun. In fact, it might be up later today. I'm recording this tonight, and I'm going to record the live right after it. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. Little future self-plug. Sword Dance Level Ghost is actually something I've used on this channel before, I believe, and also just in OU in general. It's kind of cool. Unfortunately, the uptick in Mandibuzz usage, things like his Toxics being all over the place, or Shifu being quicker than it, even if you're on plus speed, I prefer Adamant, but yeah, and things like Hydreigon not being friendly to it isn't great. But yeah, I love this set. Rock Slide you can forego for Explosion, which is going to hit things like Mandibuzz and Hydreigon just as hard anyway. Flame Charge is really cool for sweeping potential. It is actually pretty strong. It like one-shots a Clefable at +2, for example. But yeah, it's still pretty limited, and there are better things you could use in the metagame. But yeah, it's pretty cool. Now, shout out to Welcome to the Gym, who turned me on to using Sableye OU with the video that I mentioned before in the team building series. Check that series out for sure, especially that last part of it, the video that I did Sableye. But it's still really limited in OU. It can kind of soft check fighters in a pinch, especially Conkeldurr. It's really good against Conkeldurr and Heracross, but that's about it, unfortunately. So, yeah, don't keep this thing against special attackers. It's really frail and you can't burn them and reduce their damage output. It can burn them, but it can't reduce their damage output with burn. So, yeah. Next up, we have one of my favorite sets. Flame Orb, Klutz, Trick, Golurk is really cool. And also get access to Poltergeist, which is going to assure it's got Flame Orb with Trick. So even if you knock them off, you Trick and Flame Orb. So, yeah, it's actually really good with Poltergeist. It's also a rocker. And I guess it's also sort of a check to things like Terrakion and a few other things as well, I guess. Not really, actually. It lives any hit from Zero or and can kill it back. I guess that counts, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, it's more meme than anything else. But it is pretty strong. And it can triple things, which is great. But yeah, use it with caution. And last but not least, we have Heavy Duty Boot Shedinja, a Pokemon that can kind of see usage on stall and aim to like check specific things, but a lot of things have ghost or dark coverage right now, which kind of sucks for it. Same with fire types being all over the place. So yeah, but it was really viable on stall the last couple of generations on like specific teams. ABR in particular is an avid user of it, but ultimately it's pretty limited, even if it got Poltergeist. So yeah, these are 6 pretty creative ghost types. Now let's get to checks and counters. Oh wait, no, we just got Wooper and Woo again. If you're still watching at this point, I believe we're about a half hour in. Yeah, we're 33 minutes in. Let me know what you think of ghost types. What is your favorite ghost type in the metagame? Do you prefer blue or pink Jellicent? And would you mind if I did a video like this about fairy types as well? Because that may potentially be in the planning if I hit 3,000 subscribers. And spoiler alert, we're already above 2,900. And if we hit 3,000 this week, I'm unveiling a whole new project next Monday. So keep your eyes open for that, guys. Lots of cool stuff ahead. Thank you so much for the outpouring of support, and more is coming. But we're not done with this video. We're going to now discuss potential checks and counters to ghost type Pokemon and the question mark Pokemon, or Shifu, because it still doesn't have a sprite in, and I find that funny. Big shout out to Zarel, Hone Hero, Chris, and everyone else who helped implement DLC. I made a post about it in the forums, but yeah, you guys are doing amazing work. I know some things are not 100% perfect right now, but the fact you got it up so quickly in Pokemon Showdown is amazing. It was literally within 24 hours, basically. And I just think you guys deserve all the credit in the world. So, again, thank you so much for all the support. And if you guys are wondering, oh, when's it going to come in? When's everything going to be fixed? Be patient, guys. These guys are doing amazing, tireless, thankless work. And it should be appreciated more so than complained about. But Anyway, yeah, Mandibuzz, obviously it's going to do well against things like Dragapult, Aegis Slash, even Gengar, barring the nasty Pleples Thunderbolt variant. It's just a really great check to ghost types and the practical Pokemon in this metagame. Why it has risen so much as a defogger is mainly because of those ghost types. So yeah, next up we have Chansey. It's just great against the choice ghosts and also special ghosts, but it can't really do much to it in return, so it's kind of like a dual-edged sword, if you will. It can use Thunderwave against him, though, or Teleport out, so it's worth noting. But yeah, it's a full step to Special Ghost, needless to say, barring Nasty Plot Gengar or substitute variants of all those Pokemon. So yeah, keep that in mind. Next up, we have Hydreigon. Kind of mixed relationship, as a lot of them can beat it offensively, but they can potentially be beaten offensively by it as well. And on top of that, it resists Ghosts, so they got to rely on the coverage moves, such as, like, say, Dragon moves on Dragapult, fighting moves on Aegislash, or, stab moves on Gengar from the poison side. So yeah, it can be beaten down, but it can beat them up, and Scarfset's able to revenge kill pretty much all the ghosts, so it's worth noting. Next up, we have Urshifu, just a fast ghost resist. Incineroar is a nice pivot that's great against Dragapult and Aegislash, barring close combat from Aegislash, and still like the best specs Aegislash counter in the game before Chansey came around. It also is pretty good against Dragapult too, barring physical sets. So yeah, these are just going through some quick checks and counters. We're not going to go through sets and specific interactions just because that would take forever. I could talk about ghost types over the generation, specifically in this generation, for hours and hours and hours, but you guys don't want to see hour-long videos. You just got to see analysis, what's good, what's not. So yeah, we're going to hone in on that today, and we're going to say that's about it for this video. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Let me know what you think about ghost types, and this is Finch. Have a great day, guys. Peace out.